Today we're 13, and we're really, I think, over 90% of our business is around Amazon. The problem is that Amazon doesn't really check. If you don't have a trademark in the US, you will not be able to remove them. So you'll be stuck and the hijacker will remain on your listings. The rules are changing all the time. You're writing a plan of action today, tomorrow it's no longer relevant.
Welcome to Dr. Amazon Podcast, the emergency support channel for FBA private label sellers. We invite top Amazon experts to share the most efficient tips and tricks for your businesses. My name is Vitaly Hizhniak and I am the CGO of Profit Whales. And let's get started.
How to get my account unbonded. How to protect my products and listings from scammers. How to start selling on Amazon, observing all laws and regulations. Sellers and specialists who work with Amazon constantly have legal questions. We decided to deal with them. So today we organize a Q&A session with Yael Cabilly, founder of Cabilly & Co., intellectual property firm working with e-commerce and Amazon. Welcome back to another episode of the Dr. Amazon podcast. I am glad to introduce my today's guest, Yael Cabilly, attorney specializing in e-commerce and Amazon intellectual property. Hi, Yael. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Of course, that is a pleasure for us. And I know that we will cover a lot of great questions for today because a lot of people ask why a lot of things happen on Amazon, and I guess you will help us to understand it. But first of all, let's start from your personal success story. I know that you have a 13 years of experience in the intellectual property. How did you start that journey, and then how you just start working with the Amazon exactly and e-commerce sphere?
So first of all, it's 15 years, so things are moving fast. I started. I was a trademark lawyer. I lived in Israel and worked at one of the larger firms here in intellectual property, and then I moved to New York for my second degree, and I did a master's in Colombia, and I started focusing on e-commerce. I started taking classes about e-commerce, and I was actually in New York. You become an Amazon addict yourself. I mean, you start ordering products and on the buyer's side. So I got interested in this space, and I started studying, for example, at that time it was eBay. So, studying what about infringement of trademark on eBay, who's responsible. So, started going around that. And then, by chance, I guess, later I was, I came back and I continued to be a trademark attorney. And then an Amazon seller came to me and asked, I know you're a U.S. attorney. I know you do trademarks. I have a trademark issue on Amazon. Can you help me with that? So I helped him and solved the problem. And then he asked me if it would be okay to publish, what happened on one of the Facebook groups that he owns. So at that time, it was a group of 1,000 sellers. So he published that. And then the next day, 20 sellers came to me and asked if, they could get some help. And then we did a webinar. He proposed that we do a webinar about intellectual property and how not to infringe patents. And I remember there were over 300 people at that webinar. And then 40 sellers came to me. So I realized there's something crazy there and really not handled. There was only one lawyer in that field at that time. Even today, we're like 4. So I opened an account. I started selling arbitrage just to have a feel of how the account looks like and how they sell. And I started helping with sellers with 2 main things. So one is IP, which is where I come from, intellectual property. So I started helping with trademark registrations and trademark issues and copyrights and things like that. And then I started helping with suspensions. So, you help one and then they publish their story and then you help the other and then they start tagging you on every issue that there is. And so it kind of grew. I was within a firm and I realized I have to open a firm around that. So I opened a firm focused on IP and e-commerce. Today we're 13, and we're really, I think, over 90% of our business is around Amazon. So like half of it is around suspensions, and the second half is around trademarks, copyrights, IP in general. And so that's that. We represent about, I think, 5,000 sellers over the years, all over the world, Israel, Ukraine, the US, Australia, UK. These are the main places. And then in 2018, a lot of the clients of the firm started exiting and selling their business. And while there were brokers in that field, we didn't see any consultants that are really only on the sales side and helping the sellers exit and sell the business for the highest possible price, and really taking the hand of that seller. So we started an investment banking firm with 2 additional partners. And so that's a separate company named Fortunate. Today, it has grown a lot, the exit industry. So we're a team of 17 people, focusing on medium and large businesses that really, want to maximize the value of their business. Jake, I know, is going to speak about that on your podcast. So
we already have this episode, right? And the audience could double check it again, because we cover a lot of things, have to do all these exit steps, but from the seller side. I guess that is really important, because a lot of companies speak from themselves, like from the acquirer side. But with the Jake, we got a chance to look on both of them and understand what exactly the seller should do for finding the better price and the better options for the offers that the acquirers will do.
So that's the background, more or less. I'm very busy on both companies, on all legal issues, and God knows there are legal issues and always new issues, and on the, I guess, the fun part, the exit, like the sweet end of the journey. So it's nice to see them, going through. There are clients that we started together in 2015, and now, we sold the business for over 20 million. It's just, an amazing feeling.
Yeah, I guess that is amazing, because you start from the learning e-commerce, and then you help businesses to exit from the e-commerce, and this kind of journey, I guess, it's like the impossible. That is really great. And according to that, when you start working and analyzing the e-commerce, there is some kind of another sphere of the law, because I guess it's a high difference between all other law spheres that we have, like in particular in our today's law. It's
a completely different field, and I was actually expecting that after a year or 2, I would have tons of competitors and tons of lawyers getting into that field. And I guess until today, as I said, we're probably about 4 lawyers really focusing on Amazon. I think it's because it requires, you have to be on top of it all the time. The rules are changing all the time. You're writing a plan of action today, tomorrow, it's no longer relevant. There's a new issue, and now Amazon is around review manipulation, and then yesterday they were around related account, and every time they go around something, and then we have dozens of suspensions around that particular topic. So you have to know, first of all, what you're doing on Amazon. You have to know how the accounts work and get inside an account. It doesn't fit any lawyer, I guess. But also get on top of it and be okay with working with new clients every day. So that's very different from any law. Most law firms don't want that.
I really like the idea about the dynamics, because I guess Amazon provide you with all these dynamics in the case of the changes that they focus on. So how to work with that? Because I think that on Amazon, and in case of the law and all this IP things, it's some kind of the templates that you could every time work. But now you said that it's like daily could change. So how to work with that? I mean that Amazon sellers right now exactly need a help on all these things, but how to control it?
I think that, so as a seller, I think that you have to stay on top of things. Today, the information is available to you. You just need to be there and, and listen to webinars from time to time, to see where things are. If I try to convey the information everywhere I can, so that, sellers don't fall into the big traps. So I think that as a seller, especially since COVID, information has become available to you.
Yeah.
You just need to grab it. And it can be, it can take time and it can be tiring to just watch webinars, especially legal stuff that are not always very sexy. But try to do it like at least once a month to see where things are and what has changed, and, and read and ask your friends and get involved with the community. You'll hear about most of the problems that arise.
And I knew that we have a changes also for the different products or categories. Yeah, we have a different laws and the rules, I guess. Yeah, for working in this.
Yeah, there's a change. I think in every topic of Amazon terms of service, there are small changes here and there. In the last year, if I'm, speaking about categories, we've seen a lot of suspensions around listings that were not on the right category, and you're trying to change it all the time. Like one of the last suspensions we had is a seller who was always changing it so that it'll be, bestseller on that category.
Yeah.
And he messed with it so much that Amazon got tired. So he was eventually suspended. They told him that's not the right category, and he went back, and that's not the right category, and then he tried again, and he had an entire team just putting him back on that category. So that's something that Amazon doesn't tolerate that much anymore. Variations is something that also they don't tolerate, like wrong variations. For example, if you have let's say you have a blue pen and a red pen and a yellow pen, so that's fine. These are regular variations of colors. But then you have a pen of that has another feature, or that or with a zebra pattern on it or something. So these are not correct variations in most categories. So a lot of sellers are lately suspended around wrong variations. So you have to make sure you're abiding to the rules in your specific category, and you can check that. You can go ahead and check what are the correct variations and the possible variation in your subcategory. For example, do you have is quantity a variation that's allowed? If it is, you can see it. If it is, you can definitely use it. And if it's not, you cannot use it. So just go ahead and check what are the variations that are allowed in your subcategory. And then once you can abide to the rule. And that you can do today. You can already check it.
We got a great situation, from our clients. That was like a big surprise for us, because they launched their products, but some of the Amazon sellers just copy all their designs, launch their own product, and send to Amazon the request that somebody copy their designs and ask to ban our clients.
Yeah.
And they got a block the banned listings for 2 months.
Yeah,
and how to work with that, because all these solvings spend a lot of time to send all documents to the Amazon and all the things. How to prevent maybe it?
So first of all, was that a when you're saying design? Are you referring to the external shape of the product, or was that like the graphic design?
The graphic design.
Okay, so that is protected by copyright. So if I, let's say I have a paper plate with a nice dog on it, and I designed it, and it's, I paid someone from Fiverr to design it for me. I own the copyrights on this particular design. I do not need a registration. The minute I formed it, it's mine. Now, if I have it on my website and I have it on my listing, tomorrow, if you come in with a similar design, I can file a copyright complaint and Amazon will remove it without any registration. The problem is that Amazon doesn't really check. And so some sellers, what they do is they'll take your design, they'll put it on their listing or their website, and then they'll file a complaint saying that it was there and you were wrong. What you need to do in those cases, don't lose a month. Don't lose a month. Go to a lawyer, and the lawyer will write to you an opinion saying that the design was yours originally, and the design was yours, and you did not infringe the copyright the other way around. We had many cases like that, and it doesn't take a month. So what you need to do if that happens to you is to provide an opinion from a lawyer saying that you're not infringing. This was your copyright. Here's a proof. I started the listing in 2018. Here's the proof. He started the listing in 2020. Okay. And so it was later. So you just need to show Amazon the proof and they should reinstate it. How can you prevent it? I think that on Amazon, since it's very much an algorithm-based program, platform, you can't prevent false complaints. It's very hard. What you can do is to handle them as fast as you can. So in this particular example, if you have a design that's original, you could also go and register this design as a copyright. You don't have to, but you can. And if you went and you registered the copyright with the Copyright Office in the US, then when someone does that to you and suspends your listing based on a false complaint, you can simply show the registration of that design to Amazon and say, "This is mine. Here's my listing. Here's their listing. Here's my design, copyright registration." That will help you with Amazon. So one of the things to expedite the process, so one is the lawyer opinion, and the second having a certificate of registration for the copyrights, which isn't that expensive, by the way. Getting a copyright.
Yeah, and I do have like a next questions about the copyrights. In the case of how to get it, okay, and in the case, for example, how to check the copyrights for many, for example, for some specific product. Is it possible? To understand that you work in the right way, or how to work with that?
Right. So there, it depends what the design is. And that's why I asked you, is it the shape of your product? Let's say that's a bottle I designed. Okay. It has a special shape, right? I mean, there's here and there's here. So for this particular bottle, the external shape of the design, that's not copyright. That's a design patent. Okay. External shape, design patent. If we're talking about a graphic design like the dog on the paper plate, these are copyrights. So we're talking about two different things. Now, how do I know if it exists? So when we're talking about the paper plate, you know if it exists if you designed it. So if you designed the dog and you didn't copy from anybody else, usually these are your copyrights. I mean, even if you got to a similar dog to what's already in the industry, the copyrights will be yours, and so you would be protected. So for graphic designs, usually there are no checks to do. You just design your own things and it will be protected. So you shouldn't be worried about that. Just do not copy graphic designs of others. And I can't say it enough. I can't say it enough because that's one of the most common mistakes that sellers do is to take a design from their supplier and use this graphic design, and then they get suspended. So never ever take a graphic design from your supplier or anybody else. Just use your own and have your supplier do it. So that's for copyrights. When we're talking about the shape of the product, let's say you want to sell this bottle. Okay. Yeah. Can you sell it? Is it protected? So the best way is to do a patent search. You want to know if there's a design patent on that. So the best way is to conduct a patent search. It's not very easy to do it. Most people do it through a professional. It costs probably around 1,000 or 1,200, really, depending on who the patent attorney is. And then you do the search and you see if this patent was registered or not. You can also try and do the search yourself, or at least an initial search. You can go on Google Patent. That's like a database, like a Google on patents. So go to Google Patents and maybe search for the name of the company who originally designed it. So here on my bowl, it says Copco. So maybe I'll go to Google Patent and search for Copco bottles, and then see if I can find something. It's very hard to do it. It's not, usually.
Yeah, of course.
Like
to search all these things to find it, it's I guess you could spend a lot of time on that.
Right. And even after you found a patent and you have no idea what it says because it's super complicated.
What to do with that?
Right. Exactly. So is it infringing? So I get a lot of questions from sellers. Like, I found this. Is it infringing? Is it not? I don't understand anything. So even I'm not a patent attorney. We have patent attorneys. It's very complicated. Some of the patents I can't say if they're infringing. So we use our patent attorney. So to summarize, how do you know if the design is taken or not? If it's a graphic design, you're fine if you designed it on your own and you didn't copy anything. So there are no real checks to do. And when we're talking about a shape of a product, use a patent attorney to do a patent search. And if not, at least do your own search. Maybe even before using a professional, do your own search, because very often you can find things yourself.
Yeah, just to understand, I guess, just for understanding the algorithms, maybe it will be work for you, and it's not too hard to find the all new patterns. Yeah.
Sometimes you find it within a second. I can tell you that sellers that are suspended, they become the best searchers in the world. I mean, within seconds they get in and they find the patent. So at least do a search. You're gonna form something similar to the Copco bottles. At least go on Google and write Copco bottles patent. See what you find, and then continue from there.
Perfect. And I know that on Amazon, we do have a lot of questions about the trademarks, because not all trademarks from different countries the Amazon could accept. How to work with that? What is the right point for solving all the things or to get prepared?
Right. So for the Amazon brand registry, so first of all, I will always tell our clients, you have to register the trademark, not in the country where, it's where you'll get the brand registry. You have to register a trademark where you actually sell. So a lot of sellers, for example, were selling in the US. And then they heard that in Germany, it's faster and more and maybe less expensive to get a trademark super quickly. So they went and registered in Germany, and they did not register the trademark in the US. That's a problem, because if later you're going to have a hijacker, your trademark in Germany is not going to help in the US. So you have a nice brand registry, and you have the EBC, the A+ content and everything. But when you need to use that trademark, if it's registered in Germany, it doesn't protect you in the US. So, and when we were discussing exits, I mean, nobody will buy a business that's selling on Amazon.com if the trademark isn't registered in the US. It's very, very important to have a trademark. So first of all, as for the countries, start with the countries where you sell. If you're selling in the US, start with the US. Later, if you're selling in Canada, then protect your trademark in Canada as well. If you're selling in Europe, there's a registration for the European community, and the UK is aside. But just protect it where you can. If you want to know the countries, sometimes sellers already have a trademark because they're a brand, so they have a trademark in Germany and they start selling it on Amazon.com. The trademark in Germany will protect you. I mean, will grant you the brand registry, okay? Because Germany is part of the countries where Amazon accepts the brand registry. So for brand registry purposes, which means for A+ content purposes, basically, any trademark registration in the countries that Amazon mentions in their list, which is basically Amazon's platforms, where they are active, Mexico, Canada, China, etc. In all those countries, that if you have a trademark, you'll get the brand registry. But don't confuse it with the ability to enforce it, to file complaints.
That is great, because I know that a lot of people right now use this strategy on open the trademarks on other country or something like that, and then try to implement it for the Amazon US, for example, for Amazon.com. And we do have fun. And for me, that was a question, because we check the PPC data and we see that we do not have every time the buy box, for example, and it's why? We do have a brand registry, we do the ABS content, everything that we need, but still we do have a hijackers, and that is not Amazon.
So brand registry doesn't. So it's important to know that the brand registry, even after you register the trademark, let's say you sell in the US, you register the trademark, you got the certificate, you have the brand registry, you have the EBC, everything, you've done everything correctly. Hijackers can still come on your listing. The difference is that if you file a complaint, they'll be out very, very quickly. If you don't have a trademark in the US, you will not be able to remove them. So you'll be stuck, and the hijacker will remain on your listing. So don't confuse the fact that you have a trademark and a brand registry doesn't block your listing or gate it. It's allowing you to file a complaint very quickly and remove the hijacker very quickly. Okay, because a lot of sellers
got it.
use that.
Perfect. Great. I really like it. And if, for example, we'll try to summarize all the things, could you please provide the Amazon sellers or the beginners with the 3 main advices that they should do on the beginning or the maybe experienced one in the case of the IP, for example?
Yeah. So one of the most important things, I guess, is to think about a search before you choose the name. It's very important, and I'll explain why. In the past, if you chose a trademark, let's say you chose a brand Vitali, okay, and you put it on the microphone that you're selling, you start selling it on Amazon, you're pushing it, and then you come to me, Yael, I want a trademark. Let's trademark it because I want the brand registry. I do a search. When we start the trademark process, I do a search, and then I'll tell, listen, Vitali, there's a trademark already registered for microphones, Vitali, with 1 I, okay? And so I'll tell you, listen, I'm sorry, but you won't have a trademark for that name. So in the past, if that happens, I would advise you to just change the name, okay? To just change the name and move to something else. But today, we're not allowed to do it anymore. Today, Amazon does not allow you to change the brand on your listing, and even if you manage to do that, you can get this listing suspended in the future. So what happens? If that happens, you're like, oh no! I mean, I have a listing. I launched it. I spent a lot of money on labeling and everything,
on inventory, on all the things.
Yeah, and now I have to rebrand. So it means basically that you have to open another listing and redo that and lose all the reviews. So what you really need to do is, before you choose that name, Vitali, before you choose the brand, before you manufacture, do a search. Go to your trademark attorney. Usually that's already included in the cost. So for example, for us, we usually do the search. You pay a certain down payment, a small one. And then when you register the trademark, we retract the costs from the trademark registration. So it's included in the registration. There's not even extra cost. So just come early, do the search, make sure it's fine. Then you manufacture, and then you can trademark it when you want. But just make sure it's not taken. And a lot of clients, I guess, do this mistake where they do the search themselves. They do a search, but they don't do it right, because they search Vitali with 2 I, and they did a search for Vitali with 1 I. But it's the same when it comes to trademarks. Trademarks laws talk about likelihood of confusion. So in the eyes of the trademark examiner, Vitaly with one eye or two, it's the same. So make sure if you do the search, just do it widely, and don't don't forget to do it in an early stage. So that would be the first advice. The second advice would be just like we discussed earlier, to do the patent search. A lot of private labels, private label, it depends, but many of them, they don't invent the product. They usually find a product that is selling well on Amazon. They improve it, and then and then they start selling it. So sometimes they turn out to be infringing patents. Mm-hmm. So I guess the advice would be, if you're gonna sell a specific shape of microphones, then do a patent search to make sure that you're not infringing any patent around that product.
That is fair enough, because you will save a lot of time and money, I guess, if you will do it on the beginning. Because if you will do just on your understanding, you could have a lot of mistakes and problems on that. Now, I would be glad to know more about you, especially you in the case of the person. Could you please advise, for example, any book or podcast or maybe a movie that you like and you do read? Main your recommendations about that.
I guess that one of the books that I'm reading in all kinds of languages. I read in English and French and Hebrew, but when I'm thinking about English books, one of the main ones that really changed something for me was Lean In. By Sanders. She was talking about how women should physically lean in. Get into those meetings, even if you have 20 men around you. And when I started in this industry, I was one of the only women in the Amazon space. For the sellers, I guess probably around less than 20% are female sellers, and the service providers and coaching, and all of them were men around it. Today, I feel that things have changed. When I used to go to conferences, I was the only woman. Today, I think, and by the way, I think that COVID has changed that a little. And in the last year, there's Branded by Women, which is a conference for, made by women, for women around Amazon. So I feel that, things have changed and women are leaning in. And so that for me, it was about 7 or 8 years ago, and it really changed my philosophy around it. I got more involved, even when I felt uncomfortable at the beginning.
Great, perfect. And I know that you spend a lot of time with the Amazon sellers and inside the e-commerce as a general. What do you think? What next trends we will see, for example, in 2021 inside the Amazon?
What will we see in our industry?
In your industry, or maybe in general in Amazon.
Right. Yeah. When it comes to, looking at my two hats, when it comes to the legal space, I think that, Amazon it's going towards brands. And I think that with time, I personally think that with time, arbitrage and drop shipping is going to go down, and, it's already happening. Today already, it's not easy to sell, even wholesale. When you're reselling brands, it's very hard because the brands always file complaints against you, and Amazon removes you immediately and doesn't ask questions. They first remove and then they ask questions. So I think that, with time, it's clear that Amazon is going towards the brands and kind of favoring the brands versus other types of selling on, selling methods. And when it comes to exit, we have now over $3 billion, waiting to buy brands. So I think that, obviously this year is going to continue to be as strong as it is. Multiples are going up, and they're probably going to continue going up in the next year. I think that the aggregators, probably some are going to merge and buy each other. We're probably going to see in the next 6 or 12 months one of them doing a major IPO. So I mean, I haven't invented anything. That's probably where the industry is going. We're going to see more SPACs merging with, Amazon activities. So the larger companies are going to grow, and we as the seller community are enjoying this this journey, and it's definitely a good time in the next years to make an exit and then start again, start a new brand.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. It's fair enough. And the last question for today is, who should be the next guest for the Dr. Amazon podcast?
Oh, wow. Good questions. There are many cool people in the industry. I recently heard Tim Jordan. I don't know if he was on the...
of course.
He was already.
No. We're working on that, on getting Tim.
Oh, so get him there, because he has a new... lecture around getting new products in creative ways, which I loved. So that's what I would recommend.
That is perfect. Yeah, thank you so much, Yael. Thank you for all these recommendations. It was a pleasure for us to know more about you, and also to get all these insights from your side. That was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Vitaly. Thanks for having me.
Of course, that is a pleasure.
And that is all for today's Dr. Amazon episode. Do not miss our future arrivals with new hot topics. Press the like button, leave us a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe. We will come back to you shortly.